unable to manage budget and could default on servicing the national debt. Then, as well as the national debt default will not only hit government operations but also livelihood of ordinary Kenyans. So that is the argument by the government. Now, the respondents' position, one is that they've dismissed the government's appeal as not merited and that its provisions were flawed. They've also spoken on fault public participation, arguing those affected not given an opportunity for public input. Now, they say government must provide clear justification for raising funds and what it will be used for, as well as they argue that the finance laws enactment suffered numerous procedural deficiencies. So the Finance Act 2022 was at 2.1 trillion shillings. That is the government revenue target. Finance Act 2023, the revenue target was at 2.3 trillion shillings. Now, the now disbanded Finance Act of 2024 was at 2.9 trillion shillings target for the Kenya Revenue Authority. So that is a story that is on page 4 and 5, a make and break moment for Ruto, particularly his administration and the economic output as well, whether or not his government will be able to stand against the tide of laws and court cases against the Finance Act in the country. Also, ODM succession was explored as more enter fray. That is on page 8. Who will be the new ODM party leader if at all ODM leader Raila Odinga will back that African Union Commission chairperson seat? So who stands in that position? So the succession was in play. Sierra County Governor James Orengo has been fronted to take over as the party leader, and that is within the ODM party. We've also seen a couple of names that have also been put up, with some of the key members of ODM party just missing in action. So fallout in Orange Party over broad-based government. UDA leaders allege plot to isolate Mount Kenya leaders. Also, top of the page, court puts Adani JKIA deal on ice. Court puts Adani JKIA deal on ice. And we are seeing a go-slow from JKIA workers actually this morning, where a lot of international flights have been halted as, workers from the Kenya Aviation Union have faulted that particular takeover, and they're reading malice into it. And so they have said, they're initiating a go-slow until the government listens to them and does not entertain the Adani takeover. So that is the headline on the Standard newspaper. Now to the Daily Nation. Why Raila members of parliament skipped Ruto meeting? Why Raila members of parliament skipped Ruto meeting? As silent rebellion, is it? Some ODM members of parliament from Nairobi boycotted a State House meeting with President William Ruto on Monday, exposing simmering tensions and a silent rebellion against a recent deal that brought opposition leader Raila Odinga and his party into a broad-based union with the ruling Kenya Kwanza administration. So that is a story this morning that is on page 4 and page 5. Why ODM lawmakers boycotted President's State House meeting. Now, Senator Sifuna says Ruto has no powers to summon members of parliament. Now, the silent rebellion was behind the snubbing by some of MPs of the president's invite, a demonstration of disapproval of ODM's co-option in Kenya Kwanza government. A text to some of the members by Nairobi ODM chairman and Makadara member of parliament George Aladwa indicated that the president had requested the ODM lawmakers to accompany him for some of the inspection of a house project. They were later to be hosted by the president for a formal engagement at State House. Now, who showed up? One, Aladwa showed up. Dagoretti North Member of Parliament Beatrice Elachi showed up. Felix Oduor, also known as Jalango, showed up. And Nairobi Woman Representative Esther Passaris, they accompanied Ruto. Who was missing in action? Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna, who is also the ODM Secretary General, members of Parliament including Anthony Oluoch of Mathare, Peter Orero of Kibra, Babu Wino of Embakasi East, Tom Kajwang of Ruaraka, and Tim Wanyonyi of Westlands. Senator Sifuna described the invitation as ill-motivated. So ODM lawmakers boycott President's State House invite. Fresh wave of school unrest sparks alarm. Stakeholders in the education sector have expressed concern over cases of unrest in secondary schools that have left property worth millions destroyed and schools closed over the last 2 weeks. The strikes by students in schools across the country are likely to interrupt learning during a time when candidates are preparing to sit for their KCSE examinations. So that is on The Nation. Finally, to the Star newspaper, Gathungu, that is Nancy Gathungu, the Auditor General. Why many schools are death traps? Why many schools are death traps? Well, most don't have the right equipment and tools to handle. Auditor General, which has revealed that. So aside from that, well, there's no right firefighting equipment or tools. There are no evacuation maps at buildings, entrances, exits, no fire assembly points in schools, inadequate accommodation spaces, poor coordination for response, inadequate training, non-compliance with safety standards, including doors opening inwards, windows fitted with metal grills, no doors at each end of the dormitory, as well as narrow doorways in schools. So the safety of schools continues to be a debate across the country on whether or not, schools are actually safe for learners, especially boarding schools, in the wake of recent fire cases. As a matter of fact, just within the month of September alone, 8 schools have gone up in flames. The most deadly one, of course, being Hillside, where more than 20 students have perished, but the others have not recorded any deaths or injuries. But it begs the question on, what is happening, and do the schools have proper mitigation factors to deal with disasters and deal with tragedies? So that's the big question, to which Nancy Gathungu says, that's not the case, because schools do not have proper equipment to handle fire. Also, lava among 3 arrested over exhumation of Kitale town. That mysterious death of a woman's body, or the mysterious case of a woman's body which was exhumed, buried in a shallow grave in Trans Nzoia County without a proper casket. So the question on what exactly happened. So that is the headline on the Star newspaper this morning. All right, so we take a quick breather, but when we come back, we'll be coming back with the news before we get into the conversation. So stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
Shows a staggering 42% of individuals seeking care in primary healthcare facilities have symptoms of severe depression, with an estimated national prevalence of common mental disorders such as depression and anxiety at about 10.3%. This is as per Professor Detain 2021.
Cannot afford to ignore the mental health needs of any segment of our population. It is my brief that mental health should not be a medical issue, but a social and legislative priority. This brings me to an issue that I feel deeply about, and one that I can continue to advocate for: the decriminalization of suicide.
A man was shot dead during a confrontation between police and 3 men who were committing a robbery at a shop in Mwea. According to the local OCPD, the 3 had refused to surrender, leading to a fierce confrontation that resulted in one of them being killed and the other 2 sustaining serious injuries.
Around 2:30, our officers were out on patrol within PI. And around that time, they found a group of suspected criminals having committed a crime known as burglary, and also being in the process of loading the stolen goods into a vehicle that was standby. So our officers requested the suspects to surrender, but they resorted into attacking our officers using all manner of crude weapons. Upon preliminary investigations by our DCI team, the number plate for KDJ 937 belongs to Edayasu, which belonging to Faria Hassan Ahmed. The car that you are seeing in front of you that was involved in this committing this crime is a Toyota Axio, and its real registration number is KDP 492 G.
Transport and business activities at the Magana market in Bomachoge, Borabu, Kisii County have been disrupted since following a murder of a local businessman. The businessman was reportedly attacked by robbers and died while receiving treatment at the hospital. Locals blocked the main Kisii road, killing one of the robbers and set fire to 2 houses of the suspects.
Geoffrey alikuwa anatoka nyumbani kazini akielekea nyumbani, akapatana magaidi karibu na kwake, wakampiga, wakamnyang'anya bagi yake yenye ilikuwa imebeba pesa na vyombo vyake vya kazi. Yeye anafanya kazi ya M-Pesa na mambo ya bank nini, kubadilisha pesa. So sisi kama wakaaji wa Magena tunalilia insecurity. It's very alarming that the government has to come into order so that the police post we have here should act accordingly. Ni kitu cha kuhuzunisha sana. Kutoka jana hiyo kisanga ili happen saa 2 usiku. Mpaka saa hii hakuna polisi mwenye amekuja, hakuna polisi mmoja hata amekuja kutuongelesha, kutuambia nini inaendelea.
Kusangaza ni kwamba hii si jambo moja ambalo limefanyika hapa. Hii ni siku ya 3 baada ya hii kitendo ya kwanza yenye ilifanyika. Mtu mmoja alikatwa kidole. Ni juzi tu hii wiki jana. Sasa leo hapa wamekuja, wameua kijana wetu, rafiki wetu ambaye ni chef. Cha kushangaza ni kwamba tuko na OCS Magena, tuko na maaskari. Does that mean hawako equipped kutuletea security hapa?
Waziriana na wakuu wa idara, wapelelezi wote wana jambo la kushughulikia haya mambo. Juzi ndugu yetu ambaye amewawa na nyundo hapa ngambo Gesabakwa. Kuna watu wamewawa, kuna Sandona aliwawa. Tangu hao watu wote wamewawa, karibu watu 10 tunahesabu mpurulizo. Hakuna reaction imetokea, yani hakuna majibu ambayo yametokea kwa hao watu wote wamekufa.
Magena is a station but is not equipped as a station. Station ya Magena ipewe gari ndio OCS na maaskari wake waweza kupeana usalama unaohitajika.
Leo hii tunataka DC akuja hapa. Mko tayari? Tunataka DC kutoka Kenya akuja hapa address hii mambo. Mambo ya OCS, mambo ya watu hao wengine hatutaki. Tunataka DC kwa sababu hatuwezi uliwa tukiangalia na macho.
Nataka mnichagulie viongozi kama 10 hapa. Tuende tukae pale kwa chief, tuandike report kwa sababu kazi ya serikali inafanywa kupitia nini? Kupitia report na mikutano, si ndio? Ile report ya OCS na maskari itafikia nani? Our County Security Committee leo. Tunaelewana? Lakini kwa sasa
All right, we take a quick breather. We'll be coming back shortly with that conversation around dealing with grief. So stay with us. Don't go anywhere. Something important that we lost, whether it was a job we lost, whether it was an important relationship that ended. And so we just want to understand, how do we deal with it? With this complex human emotion, and especially at a time when parents from a particular school in Hillside, that is in Hillside and Arasha Academy, have lost 21 children. There are those that are still being looked for. There are those that are still recuperating in hospitals. This also comes at a time when we've seen a lot of cases of abductions. There are cases of extrajudicial killings, you may call it, that has happened in the country. And there are people that are still grieving that. So we want to really help you deal with this particular, moment and this particular emotion, just to understand, what are some of the things that you should be doing and things that you should not be doing, and is there a way that we can control it, or do we manage it? So that is the conversation this morning. Your feedback is highly welcomed across our social media platforms. That is on EBN TV. The SMS line is open as well. Tell us your thoughts, views, comments that you may have concerning this, and we'll be able to get you the answers that you seek. So I'm joined in studio by a counseling psychologist, Gloria Kuria. Thank you very much for coming in this morning.
Thank you for welcoming me.
Right, and perhaps the best place to start is, what is grief? What is this emotion that everyone has had to go through at a point in life?
So grief is a very common emotion, a normal emotion that we experience because of a loss of anything, a friend, a pet, a job, anything.
Yeah.
So grief is an emotion of sadness, especially due to loss.
Yeah. Why do we tend to link it with the deaths most of the time, rather than perhaps a loss of anything else?
I think it's just when we say grief, at times it is more related to people, but we should not say that losing a job, we should not grieve that job, or discriminate some other things and see as if they're less, or let's say like a pet. Some people, something that is really important to you, when it gets lost, when you lose it, you grieve it. So yeah.
Right. Is it possible to preempt a situation and say, no, this is likely to occur? Is it possible to prepare yourself to grieve? Is that any way possible?
Well, I could say 50-50 or 40-60, but most of the things get us off guard, while others are, let's say, you have had a sick person in your family, and you're seeing in the depths of your heart, oh my God, we are losing this person. No matter how much you're trying, you're just seeing it, the doctors are confirming it, you're just waiting for a miracle, and you're like, oh God, what are we going to do? So when this person dies, you are not 100% prepared for it, but you kind of foresaw it. That does not make it any simpler, but you kind of foresaw it. Other things like the death of these young ones, I would really like to give my sincere condolences to the family and friends of these young children. It's such a sad occasion in this country, and wow, it's just so sad. Some occasions like this, we did not know. It's just a shock, and this comes with trauma and a lot of grieving and a lot of disbelief, a lot of that.
Right, so I'd love us to speak on perhaps the stages that may be there for grief, because once you've lost something or someone, that particular emotion you feel at that point is quite intense, and you tend to feel like you could actually just follow them as well. You feel lost, you feel like your life is about to end as well. But normally they would say time heals, and would speak on that. But I'd love to understand the stages of it from that particular point when we've lost somebody or something.
First of all, about the stages, they vary from people. We won't say that these are the stages of grief, so this is what you will have to go through so that you can heal. Some people go through the stages, all of them, some of them, 2 of them, and some other people, none of the stages of grief. But I would like to, maybe they will be jumbled up a bit, but there is disbelief. There's disbelief that, how did this happen? That's inability to believe. They can't believe that I was with this person last term in the holidays, and now they are no more. There is also anger, a lot of anger. We tend to try to blame everything else. Why did this happen to this? Why did this happen like this? You see, and all these are natural steps. It is something that we go through and it's not wrong. It is totally okay, and it is very healthy to allow yourself to go through each and every step of them. And also there's a depressive stage where you're just so sad about what happened. And then there's the healing stage. So this one comes at least at the final, but as we had said in the beginning, this can be jumbled up. It can have a specific way it happens to different people. People are different. Griefs are different. I can cry, you may not cry, and it's totally okay. It does not mean you feel less or you're not compassionate enough or you are not grieving enough. We are different.
Right.
So your grief may not be my grief, may not be someone else's grief.
Right. I'll speak on a person that may go through these 4 stages that you've given us, which is disbelief, anger, depressive, and healing stage. Which 4 of these would you say, if not properly managed, may have severe consequences ahead?
To be very honest, I will say all of them, because especially the depressive stage, we will say, now here is where we also see the physical implication. You're too sad to wake up. You can even have diseases. You can feel like your body is not okay. You can be vomiting. The natural diseases, they are caused by depression and sadness. And also anger. It can, when it is too much and it stays for a while, it makes you have complicated relationships with the people who we are with right now. So all the stages, if not managed, disbelief, we can see people when you have not accepted, you have not gone through the acceptance stages, and people start thinking that you're going crazy, this person has already passed on, and you're still talking about them like they're there. People may start wondering, okay, what's happening? So each and every stage, it is very, very important for each and every one of them to be well taken care of.
Right. Are there clear-cut symptoms of a person that is grieving? Are there some of the things that they may do that we may single-handedly point and say, oh, this person is definitely grieving?
Yes. There are symptoms that a person might actually be grieving. Number one, especially in the depressive stage, you just see this person is not okay. They used to love doing this, now they don't do it anymore. They loved hanging out with friends, now they have retreated to their own cocoon. They used to do this, they're not doing this anymore. They are crying all the time. And as we had said, it's okay. All these stages, it's okay. Go through them. Take time, take time. Time actually does heal. That is a very a statement that I would like to be very careful with, first of all. But time does heal wounds or cover wounds a bit. So I think that is what I will say basically.
Right. Now, for persons that, because you said it's different for everybody, and there are those, I've seen situations where perhaps they've lost something or they've lost someone, and for them, they've not shed a tear. They're just like normal. Their routine may just stay as normal as it may go. Is there anything different about this person? Because people tend to question them a lot, and they will say, why are you not feeling this way? Why are you not expressing what you're feeling? Is there anything different with them?
Well, as we said, people are very different. There's this person who will really prioritize. Actually, one of the ways for you to allow yourself to heal is to take care of yourself. So when you take care of yourself, when you try your best to maintain your routine, when you try your best to do to be okay, actually that might work. But we should check on these people really, and ensure that they're not pretending to be fine. They're not wearing a strong face. They're not wearing, that I'm this person. I cannot get sad. I am over this. I am not going to be controlled by emotions. because sometimes when you suppress, it will come and burst afterwards. So I would really like, if there are family, friends, just probe them, talk to them, allow them to talk. Actually talking things out does help a lot. Allow them to talk about their loved ones. You can actually probe conversations related to the good things that were about this person, the person who passed on, the good memories. Just allow them. Don't let there be a conversation, a revolving these people, just to allow this person who looks very much okay to talk it out. Because it is they might be pretending or not. We might be playing on the safer side, maybe they're not, but allowing them to speak about things will actually help a lot.
Right. Now, because grieving, as you said, is could be a loss of a job, could be a loss of a friendship, death of a loved one. I'm interested to know, a person that is grieving the loss of a job and a person that is grieving the loss of a loved one, will they at any point feel the same intensity of emotions in terms of disbelief, anger, or could be depressive stage, or could be healing? Is it just similar because they're still grieving something they've lost?
Actually, the stages might be very, very similar, and we should not disregard any form of grief, whether even if it's a pet, or stigmatize any form of grief. Anything, as long as this person is going through it, it is valid. Everything you're going through, it is valid. And you as a person, especially, other people may not feel like this is important enough, but as a person yourself, do not diminish it. Do not let yourself feel like, it was just a job. It was just my cat. Allow yourself to feel the emotions, allow yourself to go through the anger, to go through the disbelief, to go through the healing stage, to go through each and every step. And if not possible, hopefully you get a support system like friends and family who are actually going to, feel that with you, be there with you, and not disregard anything, especially, many people will be like, this one has lost a parent. It is important, it is extremely important, but also this one who has lost a job, it is not less important. It meant something to them,
Suppressing those particular emotions, assuming somebody's lost their job and they're not really able to live in the moment and just take the time and feel the anger if it may be there, or feel the disbelief, or even any other sort of scenarios of grief. Suppressing that emotion, does it in future come back, and does it manifest more in future in sort of like perhaps trauma or anything? Or once you've suppressed that and you're able to really know yourself, you know what the kind of person that you are, your personality, you're able to just go on with life as normal?
So suppressing works really in a really interesting way. When you suppress something, it goes to your subconscious. So sometimes even in our normal day-to-day, you're just overcome by an emotion and you don't know, you just don't know what is happening to you. You don't know what is happening to you. Like something just happened, but you have felt like you're going crazy, or you have an emotional breakdown. You're going through something and you cannot really explain what you're going through. So most probably there's something that you have been suppressing, and now it will have to take you time to go back and soul search. What is wrong? What is happening? That is what happens with suppression. Suppression, when I say it's like putting those books in the shelf. You put them in the shelf and dust them away. They usually crop back up. Even if it is in your 40s, in your 50s, they don't go away, because your mind, you have made your mind forget, but your mind has not really forgotten. Your subconscious caught it. It caught the emotion. It caught the feeling. It caught everything. You might forget with your mind, but inside, it's still there. So it is safer, it is better. You deal with situations, should I say right now, or when you can recognize them, instead of waiting for a future when you're having a million of bottled emotions and you don't know what is what. It's going to be very, very tricky.
Right. All right, now that we've understood what grief is and just some of the symptoms around it, I'd love to speak on behavioral changes, because once somebody has gone through a traumatic experience, whatever it may be, it may weigh in on how they react to people, how they behave in various environments. And so on behavioral changes, is there a way we can deal with that? Because there are people who will tend now to isolate more. There are those now who may decide to be out more. You know, the personality now changes. Is there a way we can deal with the behavioral changes in such a way that let it not be too extreme of a different person than who we are used to?
First of all, I would really, really, really recommend therapy. Therapy helps in all that. For you to actually deal with the emotion and accept the changes that have come and actually move on with your life with the memory of the person you're grieving, or a hope for a better. So as you've said, someone might have lost someone and then now they're afraid even of getting in relationships again. They might lose a child and now they don't get, they are not ready to get another child because of the fear of losing the child again. So this is where therapy really, really is important.
Right. Is it possible that, I actually said it, but I really don't know if it's possible that an introverted person becomes extroverted and an extroverted becomes an introverted person? Does that happen in moments of grief?
It could happen. It could happen. But this is, when we say an introverted person, this is a quality that has been common in their whole lives. Like this person is quite a reserved person. So it's something that is consistent. That's why it's their personality. So in matters of grief, that might be a coping mechanism. They might be trying to cope. For the introverts, they might be trying to cope, and now they are much out there. For the extroverts, might try to cope now. They're still struggling with the emotions. So as they're going through this, let's give them the grace to be the extroverts, to be the introverts, that at this particular time, they feel like being. If that is going to help, then it is much better.
Okay. For the support system, how key is it in terms of who surrounds a person that is grieving, or if you're grieving, who is surrounding you, and what are they telling you? What should be the kind of people that are giving that support system? How should they be behaving? How should they be acting around people that are grieving?
I would like to point this out, especially for the people who are giving support. So, just as normal people, let's say I've lost a parent and your parent is still alive. So there's, you can only be, the biggest you can be for me is probably sympathetic. You cannot really feel my pain. And I don't know, there's usually this weird tension. You are afraid of saying something wrong. You are afraid of doing something that will. So I think that sometimes makes our people, the people who surround us, give us a bit of space. You see. But I would like to address also the person, the bereaved. These people are here because they care. They might, their tongues might slip, things might happen in the middle, but this is because they care. That is why they're there. That is why they have cared to come and support you and be there for you and take you through this, help around. So yeah, people can have, we can have people, but we cannot control 100% how they behave, what they say. So after all, we have to understand that this person is really caring, and I appreciate that, but they cannot feel the pain I feel.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there a line that should not be crossed by the guys that are giving support to you?
Well, yes, especially there are lines that, as a person, there are things you feel you should not say. I think we should follow that instinct.
Right.
There are things, you know, that inner voice, I will call it the inner voice. Follow that inner voice. There are lines you feel they are too much, you're going too extreme, you're talking, there are things you're saying and they're, you know, out of the topic, out of bound. Just refrain. Yeah.
Okay. Now, the in the case of death of a loved one, do the circumstances surrounding the event also have a hand on how we grieve? Perhaps one has died to an accident, a different person has died to, let's say, food poisoning or poisoning. There's a different person with a different circumstances. Does that really play a hand on how the close family members may grieve this person?
I did not quite get your concern. Kindly come up again.
This is Cynthia, yes. I lose somebody close to me to death, and maybe they died through a road accident, and they will say, no, it was unavoidable because that's a natural cause. There's somebody else who I know also has lost somebody close to them, and it's due to poisoning, which means there was an intentional there was an intention to kill this particular person. Will we grieve differently, putting in mind that I'm grieving somebody who died due to a natural cause, and there's somebody else who's grieving somebody who died due to something, a fault somebody made somewhere?
Oh, I get you now. Thank you for rephrasing. So there might or might not be a change in the feeling. Actually, the grieving process might be the same for both parties.
Yeah.
It might be the same because these people have you have lost a person, and it's the same person, right? You have lost a person. So let's say in the case of the food poisoning, you might be so angry, the anger might intensify.
Yeah.
And in this other person, the disbelief might intensify. It may or may not vary.
All right, so I'd love us to take a quick break, but when we come back, Gloria will be taking a look at some of the complications that may emerge from grief, which are long-term, which is where the trauma now comes in, because there's, you lose something and then 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the line, you still, that still brings back a traumatic feeling for you. So we take that break. When we come back, we'll be speaking on the complications that come with grief and whether or not we actually ever heal. So that conversation returns. Stay with us.